What is going on? And welcome back to another episode of I Coach Nutrition Radio. Today's topic I'm going to be diving into is one of the hardest parts about being a nutritionist. So, when clients come to us, obviously they're investing, right? Their money into working with a coach, right? They're investing their time, they're investing their energy, they're making sacrifices, right? They're essentially doing a lot of things, making a lot of changes in order to be able to accomplish whatever the goal is that they're setting out to do. So one of the biggest challenges as being a nutritionist is that clients come to me and other nutritionists, nutrition coaches, registered dietitians, and they want to get results as fast as possible, right? And understandably so. I mean, they're investing money, right? So ideally, the less amount of time that you work with a nutritionist, the least amount of money you're going to spend, right? But again, the reality of it is that if you want to be able to get results that are actually sustainable, getting results as fast as possible typically doesn't translate to that, right? And so the struggle that I see so much, and I've seen this, time and time and time again after the last, almost 6 years of doing online nutrition coaching, and even with personal training before that, I've been now in the nutrition and fitness field now for almost 13 years. It's one of these situations where it's like clients come to us and they want the fastest results possible, right? And so the struggle is that, with the pricing model, depending upon how much you charge as a nutritionist, it's kind of one of these situations where it's like, hey, the more that you pay, the more you pay attention, right? But then also understanding that it takes time to create sustainable change. All right. And so, you don't want to sit here and charge too much on a monthly basis to where clients aren't going to be able to work with you for a long enough period of time to actually be able to get sustainable results. But at the same time, you don't want to charge too little to where the clients aren't taking the process serious. They're not paying attention. They're not putting in the work that it takes to be able to actually create those results in the first place. So it's one of the biggest battles. It's one of the biggest challenges that a nutrition faces, which is trying to figure out, and it's all case by case, it's all client by client dependent here, but trying to figure out what's that happy medium, right? What's a price, right? That's on a reoccurring monthly basis that is going to allow the client to be able to stick with the process, right? I mean, honestly, most people, when they work with a nutritionist, they need to work with a nutritionist and dedicate, I would say at least a year to being able to work with them one-on-one. Because the reality of it is that you're combating the last 40, 50, 60 years of your life, right? You're combating the habits that have been built up into that point. You're combating the beliefs and the traits and the skill sets, right? And everything that you've done and tried in the past, right? And so everything that you've done in the past has ultimately gotten you to where you are today. And dependent upon the goals that you have for yourself and dependent upon how much of a life transformation that you're looking to make, it's going to take time, right? If you've taken the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years of building bad habits, right? Not prioritizing your sleep or your nutrition or your exercise or hydration or stress management, or, just really what the definition of living a healthy lifestyle is, then it's going to take time to combat that. It's going to take time to change habits, right? I mean, science tells us to take 66 days to build a new habit, but I would argue that it's typically a lot longer for most people, right? Maybe if the only thing that you had to focus on in your life was building that one new habit, sure, 66 days could be enough. But the reality of it is that you're combating all of these different stressors in life, right? You've got work, you've got family, you've got different life events that are coming up. You've got a lot to navigate through, right? You're rolling with the punches of life. You're bobbing and weaving through all the different things that are coming at you. And so it's one of these situations where it takes time, right? And for most of the clients that I work with, the average life cycle is typically about 9 months. And I also have clients that I've worked with for now up to 7 years, right? And so it's this continuation and understanding that it is a lifelong journey in terms of living a healthy lifestyle, right? There's no end date to this. There's a pursuit. You come to a nutritionist with a goal, right? And then once you accomplish that goal, then it's like, okay, we're on to the next goal and the next goal and the next goal. And so it's this never ending process of wanting to get better, right? And become a better version of yourself. And you're constantly working towards and asking yourself the question, who is the person that I'm working to become, right? And through that process and through that journey, it is very much so a life transformation. It's very much so a lifestyle transformation, right? Because you're constantly working to become that new version of you, that next version of yourself, right? You're working to become the best version of yourself. You're working to reach your God-given potential in life, right? So it's really a never-ending journey. The second that you stop living a healthy lifestyle, well, you'll last for a little bit, right? But eventually, the only end date is once your life is over, right? Because at the end of the day, if we're not prioritizing living a healthy lifestyle, well, we're just cutting years off of our life, right? And so the reality of it is that we have to find, that happy median as to like, what is going to be the price points that is going to allow us to be able to, number one, see the value in the coaching, right? See the value in working with the nutritionist, right? And knowing that nutritionist is on my team, that they actually truly care. They're actually looking to help me to get the best results possible, but they're caring about my long-term health as well, right? They're not just caring about my short-term health or these short-term results. They're caring about my long-term health and making sure that, anybody can do a quick fix, anybody can lose weight really fast, but can you actually keep the weight off? That's the biggest struggle that so many people have, is they can lose weight. They don't have a problem losing weight, but they have a problem keeping the weight off, right? And so are the methods that we're using to accomplish that goal, is that actually sustainable? Are you actually able to do this for the rest of your life? Because if you start doing a habit, right, if you don't have a game plan and a strategy and an exit plan to some of these methods and strategies, right, and you can't actually sit here and say, hey, yes, honestly, like I can do this, I can live this health, I can live this lifestyle for the rest of my life, then it's going to be short-lived. Like, it's like, what's the point of starting in the first place? What's the point of doing it in the first place if you're just going to start only to stop? Because once you stop, the results that you got, you're going to lose them once you go back to doing whatever you're doing before. That's how you got here in the first place, right? So the reality of it is, and what most people don't understand, is that there are so many people that come to nutritionists and their goal is to lose weight. Their goal is to lose body fat. And because of their inconsistency in living a healthy lifestyle and constantly either being on a diet or off a diet or starting to live a healthy lifestyle only to fall off, they're typically not ready to diet. They're typically not ready to eat in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight or lose body fat, right? And so the reality of it is like this period of time now becomes a lot longer, right? It's not just, hey, come to me, hop right on a diet and let's start losing weight. There are some people that maybe might be ready to do that and might have those results, but for most people and for more and more people, as I've been working in this field, over the last especially six years here, doing everything online in terms of online nutrition and lifestyle coaching, I've now found that most people do a much better job with being able to actually take kind of the first phase in working on just establishing consistent healthy habits, right? Getting them to a place where they're consistently prioritizing sleep, right? And getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, where they're consistently prioritizing their nutrition and starting to build what I'd reference as, the awareness around both the quantity side of the equation with their calories and their macronutrient intake and portion sizes and how they're building out their plates, right? Like the iCoach plate. And then also on the quality side of the equation and getting them to eat a majority whole foods based diet, getting them to cook the majority of their own food, right? Unless of course you're traveling all the time, which, that would be a consideration that we'd have to make. The other thing would be exercise, right? Getting people to actually live an active lifestyle, right? Not living a sedentary lifestyle. There's far too many people that are only getting in 2,000-3,000 steps a day. They're sitting at a desk, standing at a desk all day long. They're not getting in any activity, right? Let alone the workout side of it, right? And so getting people more active, getting people walking 7, 8, 9, 10,000 steps a day and getting them more active and out of that sedentary place. Getting them to prioritize both strength training and cardiovascular training, right? And getting them to actually be more active from a workout standpoint. Getting people to actually get hydrated, right? And start drinking enough water to start, managing and minimizing caffeine intake and alcohol intake, right? Getting people to learn how to manage their stress, right? Getting people to prioritize their personal development, right? And so these are all like basic lifestyle habits that if you're not doing these things consistently, then you're not ready to put on the extra stress into your life, which is dieting and trying to lose weight, trying to lose body fat, tracking your food intake and eating in a calorie deficit. I mean, that puts a big stress on your body. So phase one for so many clients that I work with is actually being able to get them ready, right? Almost doing the diet before the diet, if you will, getting them ready, right? Getting their body into a safe, healthy place where they're actually living a consistent, healthy lifestyle before we go into a dieting phase where we're, specifically looking to create a calorie deficit to elicit fat loss. And sure, there might be some people that actually lose weight during that first initial phase there. But if we could take the first, 2 months, 3 months to actually work on these foundational lifestyle habits and getting you consistent with these things, well, you're going to be a lot more successful when it comes to phase two and actually going into that dieting phase. You're going to come into it with much more consistent habits. You're going to come into it with more muscle mass. You're going to come into it with a better hormonal profile and better metabolism. And you're just going to be in a much better, a much healthier, a much safer place in terms of your body being able to actually respond to doing a dieting phase. And then from there, once you do a dieting phase, maybe this is 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, maybe even 5 months long, then you've got to think about the diet after the diet, right? And that you can't just sit here and diet for the rest of your life. You can't just eat in a calorie deficit for the rest of your life, right? That puts a huge stress on your body, and your body's not made to constantly be eating in a calorie deficit. Right? If you do that, you will start to see negative implications there with your hormones. You'll start to be in a very increased inflamed state. You will start to see, a lot of issues with your biofeedback, meaning that your sleep starts to get affected, your digestion starts to get affected, your energy levels start to drop, your sex drive starts to drop, your performance and recovery starts to get worse, your mood starts to get worse. The list goes on and on and on, right? And so we have to actually restore your metabolism, right, after doing a dieting phase. And so what that would look like is wherever you're finishing off in terms of a calorie deficit, you now have to reverse diet your calorie intake back up to maintenance, right? So that you can maintain the results that you just worked so hard to get in the first place, right? So now we're talking another 3 months or so, right? So just in that process alone there, we're at 9 months, right? And so from there, in order to actually be able to maintain the results you just worked so hard to get, like I said, you got to reverse diet your calorie intake back up to maintenance, right? And you've got to be able to actually maintain and consistently maintain eating at maintenance calories, right? To then be able to shift into kind of that fourth phase, which is now shifting off of some of these tracking tools, right? And realizing that you don't need to track your food on MyFitnessPal for the rest of your life, right? That's not a healthy habit. It's a habit that can help build awareness, but it's not a healthy, long-term sustainable habit, right? And so what do we do from there? Well, now we start shifting off of some of these tracking tools, right? We start shifting off of MyFitnessPal. We start shifting off of, using like habit trackers or food picture logs. And we start getting you truly into an intuitive approach, right? Which is now actually sustainable, right? And so now there's 12 months of going through this process of nutritional periodization, right? Learning how to eat at maintenance calories, learning how to eat in a calorie deficit, learning how to eat in a calorie surplus if you wanted to build muscle, right? Learning how to also be able to shift off of these tracking tools and be able to actually shift into a more intuitive approach to where you're not having to sit here and track your food intake on a consistent basis, right? And so this is just an example of what nutritional periodization could look like, right? Obviously, it's dependent upon the person and where they're coming to me at, but it just goes to show if I could dedicate a year of my life to building this awareness, right, through tracking and working with a coach and starting to really, educate myself on everything that I need for myself specifically and the lifestyle that I live and my goals, right? Well, then that's going to set you up to be much more successful long-term here, right? Rather than what we see most of the time, which is just a little 30-day challenge or, hey, here's a meal plan, good luck. That stuff doesn't lead to long-term sustainability. That stuff is just a short, quick fix. It's something that you try for a short period of time, right? And a lot of the times what you're doing is so unsustainable, it's so restrictive that you ultimately just go back to your old habits. You don't have a game plan, an end-all, be-all kind of, overall game plan and strategy and an exit plan as to how you're going to go about the process of accomplishing your goal and also be able to set yourself up for long-term success there. So again, this is one of the biggest struggles that we have as a nutritionist is getting clients to understand that you really need to commit to a much longer process than what you've been used to in the past, right? this is not a 30-day thing. It's not a 1 day. It's not, most of the time, it's not even a 3-month thing. It's really a process where you need to dedicate, you need to say, hey, you know what? If I could take 1 year of my life to work with a nutritionist and really dedicate myself to the process and to the journey, that ultimately is going to help me to be successful, right? And set myself up to be successful with this for the rest of my life. Right. And so rather than what most people do, which is struggle with nutrition and with their weight and with learning, with their health and with living a healthy lifestyle for the rest of their life, well, now they take 1 year, which is such a short period in terms of the grand scheme of a whole entire lifetime, right? And in that 1 year, they're now able to transform the rest of their life. So something that they've struggled with their whole life, right? Or maybe they've struggled for the last few years. Now they're able to make that transformation and set them up to be successful for the rest of their life. And so that's ultimately what we do at iCoach. As a nutritionist and I coach nutrition. I mean, this is something that I pride myself on, is that this is not just a short-term quick fix. This is very, very different than what most people have tried in the past with these different fad diets and meal plans and different things like that. And so this is a journey. This is a process. This is something that you really have to be able to, invest your finances. You got to invest your time. You got to invest your energy into, and your effort ultimately dictates your results, right? But just understanding that this is a process and this is a journey. That's really the only way that you're going to break this cycle. So if you're somebody that's struggled with this for a really long time, you're constantly on or off a diet, you lose weight only to gain it back plus more, you clearly haven't understood and built the awareness that you need, right, to make this a sustainable lifestyle, right? And that's the key term there, sustainable. And that's what we do. We help clients to learn how to live a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. So I hope this was informative. I hope this helps. I hope this adds value. As always, if you have any questions at all, be sure to drop them below. And until next time, my friends, look forward to it. Thanks, guys.